Want to welcome in friend of the show, Brilyn Hollyhand, who is at college. Brilyn, I know you were very close with Charlie. Charlie was almost a mentor, and I loved this story. You told me this when you were in studio here, and I've seen the footage, but he went on your podcast when you were, I think, in like the 4th or 5th grade. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, Charlie Kirk was one of my closest friends in politics, a business where it's really rare to have friends. It's so lonely. And he was a mentor. Genuinely, you said it right there. In the 4th grade at 11 years old, I started a podcast. I'll be honest with you, Rob, not a lot of people wanted to join my podcast at 11, but he took that chance on me. And Charlie didn't need to. He was on TV every other hour. He was in the prime of his career, but he took the opportunity. And I asked him a few months later, I said, Charlie, why did you do that? He said, because I was giving speeches about getting the next generation involved. And here was a young person involved. I wasn't going to just ignore you. And then he did. And he took that opportunity and he came on the podcast. And my favorite moment, a memory that the only thing that's made me smile this entire afternoon, and I was reminiscing with some of his family and friends a few moments ago on the phone. And I remembered the story. At the very end of the interview, I said, Charlie, what advice do you have for me? I'm 11. I'm just trying to get my start. You're this titan in the political arena. What advice do you have? And he said, Brilyn, the left will always out fundraise us, but they will never outwork me. I will stay up as late as I need to. I'll get up as early as I need to. I will work every hour of the day to save this country. And that's what I want to be really clear to everyone watching here right now. If this coward thought that he was going to shut us up, shut my generation up with this horrible tragedy, the only thing he did, Rob, was wake us up. And I will tell you, Gen Z is more engaged and energized and aware of the high stakes of this fight. And again, Charlie was on a college campus doing what you're supposed to do on college campuses, having free conversations of free expression. Isn't that the whole point of higher ed? He had lines where you could come up and join the very front of the line and debate him and have a Q&A and have civil discourse. This thing that we always say is lost in America, but genuinely, the lack of civil discourse cost Charlie his life. And what do you say to his 2 young kids today, Rob? How do you explain to him, your dad went to talk on a college campus, a place you're supposed to be able to freely express yourself and have a conversation, and he never came home?
You know, he had a little baby and a
Yeah.
little girl, and he just loved those kids so much, and his wife, Erica, as well. Can you talk about the impact that Charlie had, but that Turning Point had on the youth vote? I think some people maybe aren't aware of the impact that Charlie Kirk had on the 2024 election. Arizona might not go for Donald Trump, for example, in November, if there's no Charlie Kirk. He also somehow made being conservative a cool to your generation, and I don't know if that's ever happened. Reagan didn't do that.
You know how he did it? He talked to us. He was authentic and he had conversations with Gen Z. He didn't go to college campuses and lecture people. He didn't scream at Gen Z. He sat down in a chair in a tent and had a conversation and said, please come talk to me. Let's have a conversation. And guess what? If you leave still disagreeing, that's all right. We had a conversation. And that's better than what the generations ahead of us are doing. I will very clearly say to you, Rob, tonight, that the only reason that Donald Trump is sitting in the Oval Office this evening is because Charlie Kirk and his tireless work ethic to go state by state, door by door, and campus by campus and fight to get the next generation off the sidelines. And that memory cannot be in vain. His legacy must be a torch-bearing one that inspires all of us to get off the sidelines, to fight, to continue the work that he started, not only in the midterms, but in 28. And the most recent conversation, when Charlie and I was talking politics back and forth, it was about what the future looked like and strategies and plans for the future. And one of the comments that he made was, you know, it's great we got Trump in office, that's awesome, but that's short term. That's a patch on the problem that we have right now. There will be more elections. That was a small victory in a longer term war. And that right there is how Gen Z needs to realize we cannot take our foot off the gas. We cannot sit on the sidelines and just let this terrify us into oblivion. Rob, I'm speaking just this weekend in South Carolina at a youth event trying to encourage the next generation. And my team is terrified. They're saying, no, we need to cancel. We need to actually take a little step back and maybe reevaluate security. But we can't do that. We can't let this coward scare us into just submission of just not fighting anymore. That can't
Good
happen.
for you. Good for you. But I do want you to be safe and be cognizant as best you can. You know, there's nothing Charlie could have done himself today. His wife, by the way, and this gave me chills, and it still does. Charlie was a man of God, and people don't know that about him, but he really was. And about a half an hour before he was shot dead on this campus His wife tweeted this, Erica, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. And then we know what happened about 30 minutes later. There is a vigil happening right now, right near where this happened in Utah. I think we've got some footage. There it is. Remarkable, the outpouring of support from people who were not at the event today on that college campus, but are from that small community, Orem, Utah, who are now lining streets with American flags and have shown up on campus. Again, people that were not there today and maybe do not have a son or daughter that goes to school there and do not know much about Charlie Kirk, but patriotic Americans who were saddened but touched by what happened today and by the life and legacy that Charlie Kirk will forever leave behind. Brilyn, just a final thought on the impact that he had on you and his continuing lasting legacy.
I mean, Rob, Charlie Kirk will be remembered in a lot of ways by a lot of people over the next week or so. But I just want to be very clear and say that I will remember my friend Charlie as a bold father of faith. Somebody that legitimately, you understand, like the hustle and bustle of a campaign trail, always took the time to fly home on Sunday and take his children and his wife to church. Always turned his phone off on Sunday. You couldn't reach Charlie on the Sabbath if you needed him, because he took that time and respected the Lord with it. And I'm so thankful that that man got to hear, well done, good and faithful servant tonight, because that should be the example and the legacy that he leaves the next generation, to not only vote Republican, but to give your life to the Lord.
Absolutely. It's interesting you say that. My booking producers would always be frustrated on Sundays because you couldn't get in touch with them. And if something happened over the weekend, everybody wanted Charlie Kirk. We're always in a competition to book Charlie first. And he shut his phone off on Sundays. And it finally made sense. We just thought, he didn't like us. And it was just he didn't have his phone on him on Sundays so he could be with that family. Brilyn Hollyhand, great to have you back on. We appreciate it. I'm sorry for your loss tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. I appreciate it.